Aloha! Today I'm going to share with you a series of joint mobility movements. And I originally learned about doing specific joint mobility movements from Z Health with the understanding that when you move joints, it gives information to the brain that tells the body that it's actually safer to move up different parts of the body because there's a better map of the joint movement, so the body feels safer, the brain feels safer. That's kind of the anthropomorphizing the brain, but as a quick way to understand it, so that then with that sense of safety, there's more freedom of movement in the muscles and other places. So we're going to start with classic place, biggest joint in our body, our hips. So let's start with a few hip circles, circling round and round. Sometimes if all you have time to do is a hip circle, I'd say go for it. That's a big joint in our body, often gets stagnant. So we'll do 4 times in one direction and then switch directions. So every so often I film a class where we do focus on joint mobility, and of course I throw it into a lot of my classes. But each time I add a little bit different things, doing a little bit different order. One way to practice it is by doing it from the feet up, or like I started today with the biggest joint, and then I'm going to go to another joint not quite as big as the shoulders. So let's start just with the left shoulder, rolling it around. And really when you roll the shoulder around, we're not rolling, the arm is going along for the ride, but you're really moving the shoulder blade and its connection, it's connected to the collarbone a little bit. And then the arm moves because it's part of that whole makeup of the shoulder combination, which is different than, so that's like how we just move the hips and the legs moved. This is what we're doing, moving the shoulder blade and the arm move. Let's go the other side. And there's a tendency when we circle the arm to bend the elbow, especially right about here when the arm comes up, tendency to bend the elbow. So play with keeping the arm extended without it tensing. That's actually quite a challenge, which is something I've only noticed recently. I was watching some people do arm circles and noticing that they were doing it from their elbows like this. And then when I asked them to stop doing that, it was very hard, but they were able to get more shoulder blade movement involved. So you can try it with your elbows. You can move the elbows. It looks like you're moving the shoulders a lot, but there isn't as much movement as if you just take the shoulders up and around. Good. So an important place to work with always, of course, is the feet, our foundation for standing, for so many things of how we get around in the world. So first, wiggle your toes. There's a lot of joints in there, just in our toes. So many joints in each foot, too. The hands and feet are the parts of our body that have the most joints. And we definitely use our hands a lot. But unless we're going barefoot and climbing around, many of us don't move those joints in our feet. So we're going to do a little bit more of that. We're going to start today with some ankle circles. So I'm going to invite you to, you can hang onto a wall if that helps, or if that's, and take your left leg up and slowly circle the ankle. Now when you circle the ankle, encourage the circle to come from the ankle itself, not the foot, and then switch directions. And you can notice if some other area of your body is tensing when you do that. Go and switch sides. Generally that means it's the brain is trying to recruit more parts to help you do the movement. That's usually what it is. And some of us have habits, especially a lot of people have habits of like moving the tongue or the jaw or something when they're doing something a little more challenging. That's really a sense of the brain trying to recruit more parts to be able to do the movement. So switch directions if you haven't already. And then release. Good. And then let's do the feet a little bit wider, just a few ankle tilts. So we're going to tilt out. Maybe one day I'll do a whole video on just ankle tilts, all different variations. You can only imagine. I haven't heard, other side, I haven't heard a great request for that. So let me know if you want a video, a full class just on ankle tilts. It could be quite fascinating and revealing, but a little tedious at the same time. All right, then take your feet a little bit wider, and now let's create a circle around the ankles. So the feet stay firm now, no movement in the feet, but circling. And then switch directions. You might notice there's certain areas, again, that like you may notice on me, sometimes one of my hands gets a little tense when I'm in my more challenging positions. Then bring your feet a little closer together and maybe even try it with your feet all the way together, creating those circles, keeping the feet on the ground. So that's much harder with the feet together. And then switch directions. Okay, and then release. Wiggle your toes again. One more thing today for the feet is open up the top of the foot. So take the top of your foot back. Breathe. Lengthen the spine. Let your shoulders release. Let the hands be soft. And then switch sides. Top of the foot. Jaw soft. And then release. Now we're going to come to the knees. Now, if you have knee issues, I'm going to ask you to be really, really careful and listen to your body about what's going on. And maybe not do this, or just play with bending and straightening your knees by moving your legs just a little bit. Actually, let's all do that now. We'll do that first. Is that tendency when we bend the knees, we think of moving from the knees. Can you think of moving from your thighs instead? So lower your thighs towards the floor and then press your thighs back to straighten them. So you deepen the crease at the top of the thigh, press thigh back to straighten the leg. And the bending, really, it's hard not to feel that just in the knee, but the thigh back to move the knee is a little bit easier. So you can even take your hands on your thighs and press the thighs back to straighten the leg instead of pressing the knees back. All right, so from here we're going to go a little bit different directions. You're going to start by bending the knees like we just did, then take them to the left and circle them around back, straighten them, and then take them to the right with the knees bent and circle around front and stay there a moment. So when we do this, intention is to have the kneecaps facing straight. Not so easy. Going around. This can be very therapeutic. A lot of us have our kneecaps facing different directions from each other because of what's going on often above the hip, in the hip joint, and sometimes in the foot. But a lot of times it's from what's going on in the hip. Let's go the other direction. So bend the knees, go to the right, straighten the legs, go around to the left. One more time. All right, so let's go up a little higher into the hip joint, specifically the thigh. So go ahead and bend your left knee. Keep your pelvis steady and rock the thigh in and out. Right, I often do this in preparation for tree pose. And then switch sides. Notice I do a lot of these like 3 to 5 times. If it feels really good, I might do it more. If I feel one side needs a little more, I might do that side a little more. Go ahead and release. And now, again, if you want to use a wall, we're going to lift the left leg and rock the thigh in and out, forward, this way and this way. That's how I'm doing it. I'm not sure if that's in and out for you, internal rotation, external rotation. From the side, let's do the second side, it looks like this. Go ahead and release that. And then come back to the hip circles. 3 times to the left. And 3 times to the right. Let's go up a little higher, which is more pelvis a little. So we're going to have you bend your knees and take your pelvis forward and back. So knees are bent, knees as parallel as feels comfortable for you. Pelvis is going forward and back. Woo! Encourage the upper body to stay stable. And then pelvis side to side. So we're isolating the thigh and pelvis. They do move together. And of course, now that you've gone side to side, it's time to circle. Circle around. And then switch directions. And if that's hard for you, play with it. It comes with time. I've had a few men tell me, men can't do that, only women can do that. And then, guess what? If they practice, they're able to do it. It's just also a matter of feeling comfortable doing it in public. All right, so from the pelvis, let's go to the rib cage. So our rib cage can also move side to side. You can place your, and if that feels hard to, that is hard to feel, take your arms out to the side. So we're encouraging the hips to stay steady. And if you find that hard to do, you can take one hand and just give yourself a little tap and try to push into that tap and then push into that tap. Otherwise, continue with me side to side. I'm doing it a little longer because it's a movement we often don't do. That side to side. And then we can go up and down. So lifting the spine or the chest and then rounding it. So this movement is really coming, I mentioned the spine because it's coming from the spine. I'm going to come closer and I want you to see the difference. So I'm moving, I'm rounding the spine and then I'm lifting the spine. Try not to pop my lower ribs as I do it. And the head and neck are moving. It's hard. It doesn't look so great if I'm looking at you and then my head's forward. So I'm trying to keep my chin back, keeping the length. But I'm not intentionally moving the arms. So this is me moving the spine. And keep doing that. And this is me moving from the arms. So the spine's still moving, but it's where I'm initiating. So I'm asking you to initiate from the spine because we so often initiate that movement from the arms. Okay, next we did side to side. We did front and back. Let's do diagonal. So diagonal to the right, left and forward, left and back. So sense of diagonal across the body. It's nice for the obliques, nice for the belly. One more. And then switch directions. Go to the right, forward, right diagonal back. So if you see me from the side, it would looks like that. I'm not sure if you can see with my arm. There we go. And then of course, let's make it in more directions. So we're going to go forward, diagonal, side, diagonal, back. Diagonal, side, diagonal, front. Try again. So I'm going to the right. Right front, right front diagonal, right side, right back diagonal, back, that rounding. Left back diagonal, left side, left diagonal, front. And then you start smoothing it out. Again, your arms, your hands may want to do something to help. As much as possible, let them relax. If you've done this a lot, you might want to move your arms at the same time. That looks pretty cool. It's kind of fun too. All right, and then let's go the other direction. So lift front, right diagonal, right side, right back, back, left diagonal, left side, left front diagonal, front. Again, right diagonal, right side, right diagonal back, all the way back, left diagonal, left side, left diagonal forward, and then smooth it out. So You may have noticed for me, this side's a little more challenging, but also doing it slow sometimes can be harder than doing it fast. It's a good way to build the foundation. All right, so now from here, let's do a little for our neck. Especially these back neck muscles are oh so important, and so many of us use a lot of the front, not using the back. And then what happens is the muscles in our trapezius muscles and sometimes deltoids, other back muscles, overwork. So we're standing, hips over heels. Take your chin forward and then take it back. Take it forward, take it back. Forward and back. Forward, back, forward, back. Now one of my favorite ones, turn your head to the left and then still take it forward and back. Not the way you're looking, but forward to the screen. That one I find is great for getting some of the kinks out. And come back to center and other direction, forward, back, forward, back, forward, back. One more time. Good. And bring your head back to neutral. Give a little shake and shimmy. Wiggle, wiggle. Roll the shoulders. How are your shoulder blades feeling? Notice. We're going to pay a little attention to them by taking the arm at a diagonal. I'm at a 45-degree angle, so not forward, not to the side, right in the middle. And then I'm going to take my other hand on my rib cage to keep the rib cage as steady as possible, so the shoulder blade moves on the rib cage. So we take the shoulder blade up, squeeze it back, take it down, and bring it forward. Again, bring it up, back, down, forward. One more time. Up, back, down, forward. And release that. Breathe. Second side. Shoulder up, back, down, forward, up, back, down, forward, up, back, down, forward. I actually love this one a lot. It really helps get the muscles back here engaged to support everything above. So let's do it again, but now smooth it out. So turning it into a circle. Everything else steady as you circle. And then switch directions. Switch arms. The other direction, we'll save that for another day. Okay, and then release and roll both arms. Just a little bit more. Let's do a little bit with the hands. So spread your fingers nice and wide, and then take your second finger and bring it down towards the floor. So you get a little stretch at the top of the hand. Take the third finger. Take the fourth finger. Ooh, looks like a little antlers. Take the fifth finger. And then squeeze all the fingers and lift them all up, spread them. Do it one more time. Second finger. Third finger. Right? The fingers are clearly attached. Fourth finger. Fifth finger. Now take your thumb and straighten your arm. Keep the shoulder down the back. Give your thumb a little pull. Just a little pull. Notice if your wrist wants to turn, can you keep the wrist in line with the forearm? And then do the same on the other side. Oops. Have the fingers together. Give it a little pull. Breathe. Good. And then release. Shake the hands a little bit. And then one more thing with the hands is a figure 8. So we lead with the index finger. Do one hand at a time. I'll come close again. So you lead with the index finger and take it down one finger at a time, but then you lift the hand up and open the fingers again. You turn, leading with the finger the whole time. Now I like to do it actually with my elbow by my side, so I really isolate the wrist movement because then it gets some nice mobility for the forearm as well. Because if you're doing it with the hand going around, you actually, with the wrist elbow moving, you don't get as much in the wrist. And then second side, starting with the index finger, closing and rolling around. The thumb kind of goes along for the ride. Good. All right, then shake it out a little bit. Shake out the hands. There's other parts we could do, but I think this is good for now. Roll your shoulders a few times. Shake your hips a few times. We're going to do just a little bit of bouncing. So come onto the ball of your toes and bounce a little up and down. As you do that, look at one spot in front of you. If this makes you dizzy, do not do this. This is a vestibular action. We're keeping our eyes steady when moving the head up and down. And then release that. Good. And then give another shake. Shake, shake, shake. And move any parts you haven't moved. I realize we didn't do a lot on the elbows. You move the elbows around. Any other parts you want to move, take a few breaths to do that. And then go on about your day. If Shavasana feels right, go ahead. Otherwise, this is a great time now to go for a walk or just dance around the kitchen or the living room. Thank you for watching. Namaste. So before I turn off the video, I just want to share with you that there is like a set 10-minute routine that you can do once you, this may have seen a lot, you've seen this, if this is new, one of the first times you've seen this all together. It takes a little time, but there are some nice set routines where you just go from the bottom up, and in Z Health they call it a neural warm-up, and it's a way to prepare your nervous system to do other things. And it's also a way to change the nervous system in the sense that your body feels more comfortable with a better map of movement. And when that happens, it can, this is going into pain science, it can help just reduce pain in other areas of the body because you've lowered your stress bucket. Like a lot of times, sometimes pain comes because our body can only withstand so much, and then it needs to tell us to stop. And that's when the pain signals come. And usually the pain signals come, especially chronic pain, in areas that are the weaker parts of our body. But that's why when we're feeling really good, right, we might not have that pain. And when we're feeling lousy, all of a sudden these pains appear, like in your knee or your shoulder or something, because more pain signals are being let in. Now, it's good to have pain signals let in when something is acute, like you hurt yourself or you touch a fire or you twist your ankle and then it says, ouch, so you stop it immediately. But if you've had an injury 10 years ago and you're still having pain, that means you have some neural pathways that are kind of myelinated, that have gotten really deep in your system, that when your system is not feeling as strong, those signs appear. And that's just a little brief thing about pain science. Obviously, I'm not a neuroscientist, but I have been studying applied neurology, which is basically what I'm sharing with you today. So it's a fascinating field, and more is being discovered about it. That's why every so often I just give a little ramble about it. But going back to say that sometimes doing just this kind of neural warm-up, going through these joint mobilities, you do it for like a week, actually do it for a couple weeks in a row, every day, or even 5-10 minutes of it, and you may notice some difference. Challenge is sometimes those differences are gradual, and often when something stops hurting, we don't always notice it. So we don't always notice how we feel better because we're often thinking of all the things we can't do as opposed to noticing the things we can do. So if you choose to take this on, let me know if you're interested, and I'll make a shorter, faster video, like a 10-15 minute one that just goes quickly through the body that you can have to practice with. All right. May you have a wonderful day. Mahalo. Thanks for watching.